but it's like... So, I'm not sure what compelled me to even remotely try this. While scrolling through CurseForge the other day, trying to find some new and interesting ideas to add to Minecraft, I came across something rather interesting. A half-heart challenge created by DynamixLuffy69, where any world you load up, you'll start with a half-heart. Now, while that would be good for most people, in my infinite wisdom, I decided to up the ante, and also try and do this on hardcore mode. Why? Because what's worse than only having a half-heart? Besides everything kills on contact. That also ending your world. Again, why? Because fuck you, that's why. Now, I'm not exactly sure what my end goal is supposed to be. I'm not a speedrunner. I've never once attempted a Minecraft speedrun. But I did know I had to do one thing, and that was survive. Which turned out to be way harder than I expected. Especially if you view health as a renewable resource, but with this challenge, I only had a half heart. No amount of eating would be able to help. Sidebar. I realized I could have collected gold and apples and crafted golden apples to give me a few more hearts, but that felt like cheating to me, because then it wouldn't be a true half-heart challenge. So, I loaded up my first world, spawning on top of a tree for some weird reason, and we started our challenge. Beginning like you do in any Minecraft world, and because we spawned on top of the tree anyways, we began to punch for some wood. Which is the only convenient part about spawning on top of a tree. You're getting wood either way. But like I said, I wasn't sure what my entire goal was. Obviously it was to survive as long as possible and get as far as possible, but I wasn't exactly sure how to do that. My initial thought was, I'll start by gathering some iron and making some decent tools and a shield to help against mobs, mostly skeletons. So that's what I did. First, gathering some stone and making some stone tools. We also found some coal in our little stone hole that we also quickly mined. Afterwards, I was still trying to figure out exactly what my goal was. I could try and build a house, gather materials, and see how long I managed to survive that way. Or, I could attempt to teach myself how to slightly speedrun this game and see how far I could actually get. Currently, I was kinda leaning more towards the survival aspect since that's what I was familiar with. But, I currently only saw one problem with that. I was in a snow biome, and as cool as they can be, they really aren't great for survival, especially only having half a heart. One wrong patch of sweet berries, one angry mama polar bear, and we'd be cooked. So I figured at the very least, try and get out of this biome. If I could. So, after gathering some more wood, I went to try and find a cave, since that would be the easiest way to find some iron. Thankfully, we were able to find one before the first nightfall, and we quickly made our way inside, mining up any resources that we came across, which was mostly coal. This cave also ended up having a very weird layout to it, being like a cave diver's dream, and only being a narrow passage, mostly filled with water. But after exploring it for a couple of minutes and not finding a whole lot of useful stuff, I made my way back down the waterfall, because not only did it go up, but it looked like it made its way a decent far ways down. This would be where we started to see some iron, which is what we were desperately looking for. We briefly got spooked because we heard some footsteps and then a zombie groan, so I quickly mined myself into a wall and sealed it up behind. That way I could start to smelt some of this iron and craft a shield and some iron tools to help us out just a little bit better. While we waited for our iron to finish smelting, we finished exploring the cave, which didn't have a whole lot left to it anyways, besides a few pieces of iron. Also making sure that zombie had despawned. We went back to our little wall hole to smelt the last of the iron and cooked a couple pieces of food that we had gotten before coming into the cave, before making our way back up. Unfortunately, by this point it was nighttime, and me being too scared of how much could have spawned in the couple of minutes we were still in the cave, I decided to wait the rest of the night in the mouth of the cave. I may not see anything at that very second, but I didn't want to get sniped by a skeleton. Patience was safer. Morning wasn't far around the corner anyways, and once the sun started to light up the sky, I began my journey for any other biome besides this snow biome, which took way longer than I expected it to. Coming across some wild-ass mountain generation covered in ice spires. Making our way through the ice spires was easy enough, just really cool looking. Running low on food, however, I began to look for any source of food, which it wasn't long until I luckily stumbled across a village. Now, this village didn't really have a whole heck of a lot to it either. You know, a little bit of bread and leather armor that realistically was absolutely useless. We quickly made our way out of that village, heading into the next forest, still trying to figure out and get out of this snow biome. Now, it was at this point where I decided maybe I'll attempt some kind of speed run and think about trying to make it to the nether. Now, this thought wasn't able to last much longer than that, because as I bounded up the next hill in search of some lava, I got a little bit careless and jumped down the hill as well, falling more than 3 blocks and ending the first world. So, it was on to the second world and the second attempt. Spawning once again in another snow biome, we had our goals somewhat laid out now. Try and survive long enough to make it to the end, if that was possible. So, before we did anything, I took a quick look around to see if maybe we spawned near any structures, since I kinda forgot to in our first world. And luckily enough, we actually ended up spawning near a shipwreck, which had a little bit of iron and gold, which was a decent start to this world. Definitely giving us a leg up over our previous one. However, I could only find the one chest in the shipwreck, so it wasn't the most useful of wrecks at the same time. But we continued on nonetheless, returning to the mainland to start gathering some wood so we can make an iron pickaxe and gather some stone, and then using our remaining iron to craft a shield. After crafting the rest of our stone tools, I decided that we try doing this world a little bit different. Instead of heading underground, because I could still use some more iron, and I may be attempting to speed run the game, I'm doing it my way, and the safest way possible as to not risk our only half heart. But I needed at the very least a bucket. But I decided to find a village first, because not only could that save me some time, because there's a chance it'll have iron in a chest, but it'll almost certainly have food, which may not heal me, but is still necessary to be able to sprint. Which, after going over a couple of hills, we did manage to find one, and decide to take a quick look around, collecting what we needed, which wasn't a lot, besides even less bread than our previous world, and unfortunately no iron. And I didn't trust myself enough to not get smacked by the golem and end the run, so we moved on, to hopefully either find another village, some lava, or to just simply get out of this snow. Soon, our first night came, and I wasn't 100% sure what to do, keep traveling and risk mobs, or carve out a hole in one of the nearby ice spires. I decided to play it safe and carve a hole in an ice spire. Now, unfortunately, I have a short attention span, and I really didn't want the whole stream to just be me hiding in a hole anytime there was potential for danger. So, just as quickly as we entered the ice, we left it as well. Probably to soon regret that decision, but we pushed onward anyways. I say I'd probably regret it soon, because it wasn't long after we continued, a measly little spider managed to hit me past my shield and ended our second world. But I wasn't done yet. I loaded up a third world, once again spawning in an ice biome. Maybe it's just because it's winter here in Canada at the moment, and it's only just starting to kind of melt and it's the end of March, but I am so sick of being in the damn snow. This is the third world in a row. Literally anything else would have been better at this point. But at least this world had a village not too far from spawn, which was its only redeeming quality at this point. It could fully redeem itself if it gave us good materials, and oh boy, this village actually had some good stuff. The first chest giving us a decent amount of bread and a piece of iron armor, and the third chest having some iron and diamonds inside. Unfortunately, that was all I managed to find in this village. However, it was enough iron for a pick, and enough diamonds to make a diamond sword. So at least I was set in that way. Still not wanting to mess around with the golem, however, I decided to keep traveling, hoping to come across basically anything at this point, which so far we were only finding ice and polar bears, but I didn't want to mess with them either. Eventually though, we did manage to come across a shipwreck that did give us a decent amount of emeralds and the rest of the iron we needed to make a shield, axe, and bucket. Feeling fairly confident at this point, I decided that we'd try and head to the nether. Again. Only one problem. We were in a cold ocean biome, surrounded by ice, water, and potentially hostile polar bears. Eventually to only come across a vast ocean with no land in sight. So I made a boat and set sail, thinking I would at least be safe in a boat on the water, really only having to worry about drowned. But instead I found an ocean monument after ocean monument. Like, in total, I think I came across like 5 or 6 just rowing across this ocean. And initially, I completely forgot that they basically shoot laser beams that could definitely still kill me even in my boat. Thankfully, they don't typically stray far from their monuments. After the first one, however, I tried to stay as far away from them as possible. But otherwise, we ended up paddling across this ocean for quite a while before we managed to find any land again. Which, besides an enderman trying to ore farm on top of sand while holding sand, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot that was going on here, so we carried on. Once again, not coming across much, except a few small islands with nothing on them. Also not wanting to touch land unless we needed to, or there was something useful, as it was currently nighttime in our world. We continued to row for what felt like literal forever, only finding the most useless islands with nothing on them, until finally, after forever, we managed to come across some decent sized land. However, it did seem to be a jungle biome, which are not the easiest to maneuver through, especially when you have no health, but we had to take it. But first, we needed nighttime to end so we didn't get absolutely destroyed by mobs, which was another downfall of the jungle biome. Mobs could hide under the big trees. But once morning finally came around, we headed inland to see what this jungle biome had in store for us. Either it would be something good, or death, and there was only one way to find out. I killed a few pigs we found along the way, but so far this jungle was turning out to be quite lackluster. But I at least still had a goal in mind, and that was to at least try and make it to the nether. So I continued my search for a lava pool. However, traveling through the jungle was slightly difficult because bamboo being so narrow gives it such a weird hitbox, and you kind of just feel like you're bouncing off of it as you walk through it. And we did end up getting chased by a baby zombie for longer than expected, but we were slowly making our way through the jungle. And I thought we were making pretty decent progress. We had managed to gather a decent amount of food, we had decent tools, and a shield, and we were finally out of the snow biomes. Everything was finally coming up Millhouse. We just needed a lava pool, and we could actually head to the nether. But apparently Minecraft said we couldn't have one of those. But instead, Minecraft said, here, have a mob spawner, which, I'm not gonna lie, have become a lot less common than I used to remember. Now, unfortunately for us, this spawner turned out to be a skeleton spawner, and we had no torches on us at that moment. Now, a smart man would honestly probably just walk away from this and carry on looking for a lava pool. Not me though. No, I wanted to explore. Plus, the reason I found the spawner was due to a lot of zombie groans, not skeletons, so I still wanted to know why there were so many zombies spawning nearby with that spawner there. However, just as they always taught me as a kid, curiosity killed the cat. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to help out the channel and know when I go live. And while you're there, why not check out some of the other videos that I have.